Blessings and welcome back to How to Master the Art of Manifestation 2.0. My name is Daniel Ruquillo, and as always, I'm very grateful and very honored that you're choosing to join me, that you're choosing to tune in, that you're still here, that you're still choosing to tune into these sessions as we're now in section 4, taking a deep dive into the beautiful way of life that emerges out of us unconditionally trusting and surrendering, which is what this whole section is about. And as I said in the introduction, out of all these topics, out of all these different beautiful themes that this course is, this is my absolute favorite, and this is the one that plays the biggest part in my life, as it is all about trusting and surrendering. If we want to live a peaceful life, we need to trust. If we want to live a life filled with joy and flow and ease and grace, we need to have trust. So I'm happy that you're here on this transformational journey. Today's session is the first session in this section, and so we're going to begin by exploring the concepts, the ideas of trust and surrender. What do these mean? And the word unconditional, what does that even mean? As the topic, or as the name of this particular section is, unconditional trust and surrender. And this is one of the pillars of freedom. We have talked about that before, how the path to freedom, as I call it, how it rests on 3 different pillars. The one that this whole course is all about, mastering the art of manifestation, this is one pillar. And this is where we get to allow for a beautiful flow to happen in our lives, where we get to allow for the good that we wish to experience, for the good that we desire to flow into our lives with ease and grace. So that's one pillar. Then we have the pillar of practicing the presence, and we have touched on that a little bit in the section of vibrational alignment. We will touch on it more in the section of overcoming challenges, because much of the work that we get to do there pertains to practicing the presence, witnessing and observing, being mindful of where we are in consciousness, the stories, the beliefs that we are perhaps being hijacked by or attaching ourselves to, and so on and so forth. And then we have the third, and these are in no particular order, but then we have the last pillar of freedom, which is unconditional trust and surrender. And so let us begin by defining, for the purpose of this conversation and this course and this path in our lives, defining trust, and then defining surrender, and then defining unconditional. So trust, it simply means that we turn away from the external conditions and circumstances. It simply means that we stop judging by appearances. It means that even in the midst of turbulence, even in the midst of seemingly chaotic conditions and circumstances, events, experiences, we still know. We still know and carry the feeling tone that all is well. We cannot see it necessarily. We cannot feel it necessarily. And sometimes it's even hard for us to believe on the surface level. But we still, deep down, we still live in the possibility that everything is going to work out. We still live in the possibility that a way out is going to present itself. The way forward is going to reveal itself, right? So, trust is looking more to the invisible, to that which we cannot see, than to what we can see. It is turning away from giving our physical senses the full power to inform us of what is true and real. Because what we can Because what our physical senses can pick up, it's only infinitesimal. It's only, and I was going to say that it is only, I want to revise that into it is barely scraping the surface of the infinitude, the eternality of that which is. There's a beautiful saying that goes, evidence of lack is not lack of evidence. That speaks to this. That speaks to how we need to stop judging by what we can see. I mean, we cannot see the air, right? And yet we're trusting that whenever we need to take a breath, air is here for us. We cannot always see the sun, and yet we're trusting that the sun will do its thing, that it will rise, that it will provide light, that it will provide warmth, that it will do whatever it is that it is doing, right? And so, trusting is living, and this is something that we will explore more in a future session, in an upcoming session. But trusting is living in that when we don't even think about the house, when we don't even think about when, then we're living in trust. So trust is a state of consciousness that gives birth, that gives rise to a feeling tone of knowing that all is well. Of knowing that all is well. In the next session, we will move into exploring what keeps us from trusting. So we will not go into that here, but there are a lot of things that we need to examine within ourselves to cultivate the trust. So that is that about trust. And so remember the different levels of vibrational alignment and how we talked about how for the manifestation to happen with ease and grace, for us to turn the canoe around, allowing the manifestation to carry us, just as the stream carries us downstream, as opposed to us struggling and fighting and efforting to canoe or paddle upstream. So trust is that portal that allows us to move into that space, even when we cannot see it. Then we have surrender. And surrender sometimes has sort of a negative connotation to it. Individuals sometimes interpret surrender as meaning to give up, to yield, to lay down on our backs, or waving the white flag, or admitting defeat. That's not at all what surrender means. At least not in the light of this conversation. But surrender simply means that from that space of trust, and surrender is the byproduct of trust. When we trust, surrender follows. And so surrender is a way of moving through life. Trust is a state of consciousness. Surrender is a way of moving through life. And moving through life in a surrendered way means that we stop micromanaging. It means that we stop trying to figure out. It means that we stop trying to make it happen. Just as all of nature is in such a beautiful state and space of surrendering. If we plant a seed in the ground, that seed does not try to make anything happen, but it just surrenders to the next stage of its unfoldment. It trusts that everything is taken care of. It trusts that all needs are met. It trusts that the next stage, the highest possibility for itself, already exists. And so it yields to that, continuously releasing and letting go of the current version, the current iteration of itself, so that the next great and grand version may emerge. So there's no resistance. There's no trying to make it happen. There's no controlling. There's no planning. It's just a beautiful flow that is being allowed to happen. So when we surrender, we've moved through life relaxed, rejoicing, and just letting it be. As we talked about a little bit, when we perhaps have purchased a book online, we went to a particular bookstore, we found the book, we put it in the cart, we went through the checkout, the payment went through, we got the confirmation that the book is purchased and that it is on its way, and we perhaps don't even think about it because we so know that it is on its way. We so know that it is happening. It is already ours. We've already paid for the book. We've already paid for the book. So it is ours. It is legally ours. Yet it's not here yet. But we're trusting. And we are moving through life not even thinking about that book. Perhaps expecting it. Perhaps looking forward to when we get it in the mailbox so that we can begin reading it, right? But we're not trying to figure out how to get it from wherever it is right now into our space, into our here, into our now. So surrendering is moving through life carefree, enjoying the good that is here in life, even when we cannot see necessarily how the good that we wish to experience is to manifest. Even when we perhaps cannot even see the evidence of it, but we're still rejoicing, we're still celebrating the good that is here now. Getting out of the way, as I believe it was Dr. Howard Thurman who said something to the effect of getting the bloated self out of the way, getting our little selves out of the way, that little selves that need to have everything lined up, that little self that needs to have all the ducks in a row, that needs to have it all figured out and all planned out before it can move forward. So surrendering, being the byproduct of trust, is such a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful way of life that gives birth to such immense peace, such immense relaxation, such immense, I don't know if you can hear it, but outside the window right now, there's a blackbird. It is sitting up in a tree and it is singing. And it is simply rejoicing. It is simply celebrating life. It is not thinking about how to get its next meal. It is not thinking about how to survive the night or the day, how to make it through the day. But it is in such beautiful state of trusting that all is well, and thus surrendering to the manifestation of that all is well, surrendering to the all needs met, surrendering to all that it needs to keep moving forward, to keep singing its beautiful song, that everything needed will be provided for when needed. Whenever it needs food, it will find food. Food will be there. Whenever it needs to breathe, to keep singing, the air it needs will be there. Whenever it needs to fly off of that tree into some other tree or wherever it goes, the wings will do their thing, carry the bird, and the air dynamic. I don't know the mechanics and the physics behind it, but it is so trusting that everything needed is here, and everything needed to keep moving forward, for it to keep moving forward, for it to keep singing and soaring and shining and glowing, it will be provided for. And so it just sits there in this beautiful tree, singing its beautiful song. And that's what it does. Like that lily on the field that is spoken about in scripture. How it doesn't spin, it doesn't toil, it doesn't struggle, and yet it is so beautifully provided for. So that's such a beautiful testament to how we can live, how our life can be when we live in that state of trust and surrender. Which then brings us to the word unconditional. What does that mean? It simply means what it means. It simply means that regardless of the conditions, the circumstances, regardless of our experiences, we're choosing. Mind you, this is a way of choice. We need to choose to trust. Just as we talked about in the section of vibrational alignment, that we talked about how we need to choose to vibrationally align ourselves, how we need to choose to turn our attention away from what we don't wish to experience, from that which perhaps seems to be lacking or missing, toward that which is already here, how we need to choose to lean into gratitude, how we need to choose to lean into affirmations, how we need to choose to pick up our prayer journal or whatever. This is on us. This is our responsibility, which is not a burden. It is simply, if we break that word down into the two words that it is made up of, responsibility is made up of the words response and ability. So we get to choose to exercise our ability to respond, not react, but respond, to consciously choose. So unconditional simply means that we, to the very best of our ability, regardless of what is going on around us, regardless of what is happening in the world, regardless of what is happening in our lives, regardless of what is happening within us, in our mental bodies, in our emotional bodies, in our spiritual bodies, regardless, we choose to lean into trust. We choose to get out of the way. We choose to release and let go of that which no longer serves our tendency, our habitual and historical tendency to want to micromanage, to want to dictate, to want to control, to want to plan and plan ahead. And simply coming back to this now moment, rejoicing as that blackbird, rejoicing in that which is here now. Not thinking about some future moment, not dwelling on the past, but coming back to here and now. And as the topic for this particular session is, trust is a must. And we could add to that, unconditional trust and surrender is a must. But it sort of rhymes with trust is a must. So let's go with that. There's a beautiful ring to it. Trust is a must. So for us to allow for the manifestation to happen with ease and grace, for us to allow for a beautiful flow to be, for the manifestation to happen with a beautiful flow, we have to trust. We need to trust. Trust is a must. When we're not trusting, we are delaying. When we are in more turning our attention, when we are giving power to fear and worry and doubt, when we are giving power to external conditions and circumstances that perhaps scream of lack and scarcity, of separation, we are in effect obscuring, delaying, hindering, bracketing the manifestation from happening, because we are not in vibrational alignment with the good that we wish to experience. So you see how trust is the key here. Unconditional, because it's very easy to trust when everything is flowing beautifully. It is so easy to surrender when the flow is happening. Just as we talked about gratitude, how it is so easy to be grateful when things are absolutely going our way. everything is always going our way, but sometimes it seems and sometimes it feels as though it is not. And the same it is with trust. It's very easy to trust when beautiful signs and evidence of manifestation are revealed. But when there are no visible evidence of the manifestation, that's really when we get to do the work of moving ourselves into trust. Right? So, and this is what this whole section is about. And I don't know if you can tell, but I so love having these conversations around trust, around surrender, because they are so powerful. And as I said, this is such a huge dimension of my life, such a huge part of my life, because every single challenge arises out of us not trusting. If we were steeped in trust all of the time, in the absolute knowing that all is well, that something wonderful is happening, that everything's working for our highest good, the perfect preparation and unfolding is always happening, that all needs are always met, if we absolutely knew that every single moment of every single day, we would have no challenges. But the challenges arise when we attach ourselves to stories and beliefs around lack, around scarcity, around not being enough, around separation, and all these kind of things. So trust is absolutely the key. Absolutely the key. So we're going to keep exploring this in the sessions to come. For now, the invitation for us is to just become aware when we hear the words trust, surrender, unconditional. How does that make us feel? What do these words mean to us? What is our relationship to trust? What is our relationship to surrender? What is our relationship to unconditional? And if we are experiencing resistance, if we are experiencing maybe fear, maybe worry, maybe doubt, the invitation is for us to become aware of the thought forms that give rise to the fear, that give rise to the doubt, that give rise to the worry. Become aware of these. So to become aware of these so that we may release and let them go. And another aspect of the invitation is for us to become aware of in which areas we are steeped in trust. Which aspects in our lives are we like that blackbird? We don't even bother ourselves. We don't even concern ourselves with the unfolding because we know that it is unfolding beautifully. We know that it is unfolding perfectly. And then there are areas, aspects of our lives where we perhaps are steeped in trying to make it happen, in the micromanaging, in the controlling. And the question for us to ask is, what is it that keeps me? What within me is keeping me from going deeper into trusting? Or another way of asking the question is, how can I expand my trust? How can I move deeper into trust? Right? And so this begins to prepare us for the next section, which is an exploration of what is keeping us, what is preventing us from trusting. Cool? So as always, thank you so much for participating, for tuning in. And until we meet in that next session, I absolutely, as always, bless our ways, and I bless our days in the full knowing that all is well, that something wonderful is happening, that everything is working for the highest good, the perfect preparation and unfolding is always happening. With much love, many blessings.